Hi everyone, Matthew with Dr. G in Technology, and today we're going to be discussing some of the basic computer skills you need to either change a career and get into IT, or if you have been looking to get into IT all along, these skills might help you. So before we get too deep, certainly click down below and comment. Let us know what you think, what you want to hear more of, so that we can tailor our content more for you as you progress throughout your IT journey. Also, click the like button and the subscribe button so that you can be alerted to any new content videos that we have. And then also click down below as well, where you'll see the link to join the IT Village, which is our group of other professionals in IT, people such as yourselves, and people new to IT, career transitioning. If you have questions, go to the group. You'll find lots of answers over there. I'm over there pretty much daily as well. And it's a great group to get started in. And then we also want to remind you to click above to download your free guide on how much can I make working in IT? So this is a free guide that we assembled, and it really doesn't matter if you're kind of in the beginning stages, middle stages, or towards the more leadership advanced stages. I think this guide might be helpful for you. So off we go with some of the basic skills, right? So first up, we have Microsoft Office and the entire Office suite of tools. So here we're talking about Word, Excel, PowerPoint. And this might seem so obvious, but after even myself, a quarter century working in IT, I'm still using these tools. They haven't gone away. They've just gotten stronger, better. They've moved to the cloud, so on and so forth, right? And when you consider that there are over a billion people on the planet using Microsoft Office and growing, all the more reason to get used to at least two or three of their applications, such as Excel, Word, PowerPoint, etc. That way you can at least have a lot of those beginning stages, especially as you're beginning your IT career, right? Next up, we move to command prompt skills, right? So these are some of your basic skills in command prompt technology. And so what are we talking about with command prompt technology? Really, we're focused on DOS and PowerShell, right? DOS was the original operating system by Microsoft. It's what Windows has wrapped itself around since the get-go. And PowerShell is a command language, and it's actual language, its own language. And, you can do a lot of scripting. And so if you have ever heard of the term scripting, programming, etc., PowerShell would be right there with it. And you can use some of the same commands with both DOS and PowerShell. There's some syntax that are different, but I can tell you right now, some of the basic skills I learned as an IT intern when I first started my career, I'm still using today, over 25 years later, in terms of just basic command prompt skills that you might need to know as you progress in terms of learning how to troubleshoot in your environment, trying to understand what IP address you have, how to connect to servers. These are all things that you can do with the command prompt skills. And I highly suggest that you begin to learn some of those as well. So next up, data analytics. Boy, this area has really, really blown up and grown in the last, let's just say, 5 to 10 years. And data was actually my first job I moved into right after my IT internship. I began working with data warehouses, data marts, years and years ago. So yet something else that has not just gone away, but has just blown up considerably. So with data analytics, we're talking about programming languages such as, R, there's Julia, and then you get more to sort some of the Python as well, super strong. You get to some of the more of the applications, right, like Tableau, which is a really strong data analytics type of environment and growing, right? There are plenty of data analytics areas to delve into. Kind of just depends on what your uses are, what your needs are, and what the company you're going to be working for might need. But some of those ones that I just mentioned would be top of mind. And this is kind of a basic definition from IBM. I think IBM has done great things with data analytics and their use of um, artificial intelligence as well, which is kind of its own uh, um, skill to learn. But when you consider what data management is and kind of focusing on analytics, it really comes down to understanding the inputs and outputs of data, and how buffering happens, and then of course progressing towards more analytical skills in terms of learning how pieces of data can be sliced and diced so that you can get the necessary data you need to make decisions throughout your career, right? Next up, cybersecurity. So yet another one that has just continued to blow up over the years. It's a realm, I've kind of been in the last, let's just say, seven or so. And we think about cybersecurity, we always kind of tend to think about maybe just hacking, right? Somebody hacking into our databases, et cetera. But the reality is there's a lot more behind it, right? As a cybersecurity analyst, professional, you learn to deal with group policies. You also learn to put permissions on files and folders, how to set people up for drive controls, putting resources together in terms of what they have access to and what they shouldn't access to, right? So there's a whole lot more that comes with cybersecurity. I have a separate video on cybersecurity and a lot of these as well. But this just gives you a high level overview of some of the basic skills to consider when you're thinking about moving into technology or a career in technology, right? And so I think cybersecurity is a great place to begin if this is an area that's really speaking to you. And I know it's been great for me as well. I've learned a lot. I continue to learn every day in this space, as I do with the others as well, right? Next up, SQL and programming. For my money, there's a lot of programming languages out there. It just depends on what environment you're working in, what company you work for, what do they want you to use, etc. But I think for my money, I think I would start with SQL, which is a database technology. And it is pretty much ubiquitous. It almost doesn't matter who the database vendor is. They're all going to lean on some form or fashion of structured query language. And there are different parts of SQL, such as DDL and DML, data definition language, and data manipulation language. And I really took to SQL. I remember having a database class in college, along with other programming languages. But when I think back, SQL is the one that has kind of stayed the course. And while it has certainly advanced and changed, the basic skills of SQL are still the same. So I think, if you're going to start to want to learn programming, I would start with SQL and then go from there, just depending upon what jobs you see out there and what other languages they are desiring that you learn over time, right? So great language for SQL and programming, right? Next up, TCP/IP. We're getting now more into the world of networking a bit. And so you can't get away from learning TCP/IP without knowing what's called the OSI model, which is on the far right-hand side of this graph. Some people call that the 7-layer dip, and there's a lot of different acronyms to remember what those 7 layers are, right? And so there are other parts of TCP/IP, but in general, it is a protocol that helps data move from one place to another, from one computer to another, if you will. An IP address is very much like your social security number in that it is a unique identifier for every node on the network, whether it be your smart TV, your air conditioner controller, right, or your largest database server in a company, right? Everything has an IP address if it's connected to the network, and then you begin to kind of understand how TCP/IP works in terms of its functionality and how protocols are used. What I like about TCP/IP and networking is that with technology in general, it's a universal language. We speak pretty much the same language around the world. And so by learning TCP/IP and everything that comes with it, you'll eventually then build upon your skills to learn other applications such as the use of DHCP and DNS, which we can talk about in other videos. But really the goal here is the ability to start with one thing, and that is to learn what TCP/IP is about. And you can even play with some of IP in the um, command prompts that we talked about earlier in this video, which I highly recommend. So you kind of get a 2-for-1 here by learning both of them. And lastly, Active Directory, right, which is very much a Microsoft product, but it is a very stable method of taking resources and putting them into objects or putting them together especially for medium to large size companies. So if you can imagine trying to manage, let's just say, a bunch of printers, right? It would be nice to put all those printers that are on the network into, let's just say, this logical group. Well, that logical group, let's just say we call it printers, you can put them together so that you don't have to go out and find where they all are and what their IP addresses are, etc. You can combine them as resources into Active Directory and use them as an object, right? Same thing with people, right? Some people are administrators, some people are managers, some people are kind of the worker bees, and every unit is different. You can create different objects, if you will, or different groupings of those people into Active Directory so that you can pull resources together and you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. So I think learning Active Directory is really important. I know once it was rolled out with a Microsoft Windows Server, a lot of us as server administrators at the time, we really took to it quickly, because for this reason that you see here on the definition, it makes it very easy for us to pull things together as objects and then establish the right file permissions, folders, etc. for the various individuals and resources and needs, right? So Active Directory, I think definitely a must over the course of your career. So that does it regarding all the basic computer skills needed to change careers and get a job in technology. Don't get me wrong, there are certainly plenty of others. These are just the ones that I kind of researched, and I thought about ones that have stayed with me over my career. And you may not get to know all of them right away as you're learning to move over into various aspects of your IT career, or if you're wanting to jump away from one career over into technology. But you will probably learn them over time as long as you stay somewhat hands-on. So hopefully this was very helpful for you. Kind of as we mentioned, don't forget to click up there and download your free guide in terms of how much you can make working in IT. And of course, give us a like and subscribe to our channel. We'd certainly appreciate it. And we will see you on the next video.
As a reminder, click the like button, leave us your comments, let us know what you'd like to hear more of. Also, click the subscribe button and the bell button so that you're immediately alerted anytime a new video is published. Be sure to join our IT Village, which is the link to communicate with others within our YouTube channel over on our platform so that you can get answers to your questions. And lastly, in the upper right corner of our YouTube channel, click the free download of How Much Can I Make in IT?